Welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalcea, and today we have one of the industry leaders, Flavio Shiga, CEO and co-founder of B2B10Sec. Welcome, Flavio. How are you doing today?
Hello, Alexander. I'm fine, and you? How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm great. Thanks for asking. And awesome because I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, and I'm sure you're going to be of great value for the audience.
Yeah, all right.
Now, before we dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what B10Sec does?
Yeah, all right. Just to explain, I was born in Brazil, and I live actually in Portugal. Uh, when I lived in Brazil and actually right now, I noticed that many companies here in Portugal and Brazil, especially, they are not think about cybersecurity before cyber incident happened. Uh, the idea when we developed our company, the Bitensec, we try to change this mindset. So 8 years ago, Jessica and I we founded Bitensec to change this mindset. So we focus on solutions that are fast, practical, and truly effective, right? So today we have the different kinds of clients. So we have some small, medium, and large companies. So we are working over 10 countries, and we have office in Portugal, Brazil, UK, and Mexico. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay. See, this is very fascinating. And basically, what inspired you to create Bit and Sec? Was there a specific moment or experience that sparked this journey?
Yeah, exactly. It was a moment that here in Europe, it was applied the GDPR. So at
Hmm.
this moment, we believed that it was a great moment to develop our business. And so I am a cybersecurity specialist. So when Jessica and I, my partner, we believed we develop our business. We thought, oh, okay, we believe that it's a great moment to develop a new company related to GDPR, data protection, and cybersecurity. So at this moment, we believed, so 8 years ago, we believed that it was a great moment to develop this business.
Okay, see. And for example, how did you expand Bit and Sec's reach to the UK market?
Yeah, the UK market, it was more strategic move. It's the UK, it's a developed market, so they are the clients in UK, they believe that they want, right, to more proactive security. So the companies there are more compliance with any different kinds of frameworks and regulations. So it's a different market. So in UK, we got in through Department of Business and Trade from the UK government.
Yeah.
So it was a great moment that we believed that we can expand our operation to UK, and after it try to move to some countries like US and others.
Okay, see. But for example, I have a curiosity. So, what unique challenges did you face in building a cybersecurity company in Portugal, in Brazil?
Yeah, that's a great question. Uh, the marketing Portugal and Brazil are very similar, but in Brazil specifically, the we have a reactive mindset. So normally the companies in Brazil just invest in cybersecurity after a cyber incident, and not in Portugal. It's a little bit similar, but the big difference here that we have some regulation, such like GDPR, NIS2, DORA. So
Yeah.
we have some regulation that enforce the companies to be compliant, right? So it's a totally different point of view. But it's a big challenge here in Portugal and Brazil to invest in cybersecurity. It's very similar market here.
Yeah, yeah, I see. Okay, so let's go back to when you first started. So, what major challenges or gaps did you see in the market that made you think this needs to be solved?
Yeah, it's one of the big gap that we are working on. It's the e-commerce security. So at this moment, we had analyzed over 2,500 e-commerce, and of this e-commerce that we had analyzed, 90% of them had a high risk score.
Yeah,
So we identify very critical scenarios. For example, we identify malicious script stealing credit card information. We identify JavaScript injection redirect users to harmful content, right? As well, full exposure of all of the customer data, unauthorized changes, right, to other delivery address, price manipulation through the payments gate, and many other attacks that it was possible to shut down the operation. So we believe that one of the market that we are working on is specific in the e-commerce, but we have different kinds of clients right now. We have government, we have health tech, financial, and many others. But we are identify a specific environment that it's they need to invest more in cybersecurity. That
okay,
is specifically the e-commerce security.
interesting, interesting. And basically, because you mentioned this, what are the biggest cybersecurity threats facing e-commerce businesses today?
Yeah, they are facing a lot of threats. So, for example, imagine that normally the e-commerce they have a lot of integration. They have a lot of filters. So all of this integration or filters and many other things, it's a it's a way that a cyber criminal can exploit. So
Hmm.
what I'm trying to say, imagine that you are buying something in e-commerce and there is a specific script there. It's a hiding script that they can steal your credit card information. So
Yeah.
today, we are identifying a lot of ways that the cyber criminals are exploring to stealing user data, to stealing credit card information, to do the fraud, right? So we the e-commerce at this moment they are facing different kinds of threats that major of the e-commerce they don't know about this threat.
Okay, I see. But for example, how does Bit&Sec help e-commerce companies protect themselves from these threats?
Yeah, we have some solutions, servicing solutions. So we have a continuous monitoring for data leaks and vulnerabilities. We are doing security audits, penetration tests to uncover weakness before cybercriminals can exploit them. Threat identification as well, guidance on compliance with standards such as GDPR, NIS2, DORA, and many other ways. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay, see. And last time when I spoke, something was in my head. So, for example, could you explain the concept of implementation tests and how they simulate hacker attacks?
Yeah, yeah. So normally in cybersecurity, we can say that the implementation test is the same thing of penetration test. So it's a simulation of attack that
Okay.
we try to, for example, to buy something with a different price or to do some kind of fraud in e-commerce to steal the information. So
Mm.
no, as I told you, we had analyzed 2,500 e-commerce. So most of this e-commerce, we had identified a lot of vulnerabilities that was possible to change the price, the product price. It was possible to inject malicious codes, to stolen personal data information. So we are working on this kind of situation, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I see. And walk us through how Bit and Sec addresses these challenges. What makes your approach unique?
Yeah, we have at the moment we are working on a SaaS platform, so we can monitor the external environment, the external attack surface from the company. So we are working 24/7. So we collected a lot of data from the e-commerce, from the company in the deep web, dark web, on the internet. So we can identify some spot vulnerability, expose the data, and we can identify a lot of signs of potential attacks that we can analyze to identify some fraud or some threats before the company has a problem, right?
Okay, I see. And because you mentioned this about the SaaS company, how does your SaaS solution identify threats, vulnerabilities, and data leaks?
Yeah, it is a SaaS solution that we call IoLeak Data Monitor. That's a SaaS solution that we had developed. We started to develop this solution 3 years ago. So the main idea of this solution it was a platform to support, to help the companies to protect them against data leak. But during all these years that we are working on this solution, we identified that it was possible to use our solution to identify, for example, some JavaScript or some specific scripts used in commerce or any other SaaS solution that are malicious or confidential information exposed in the external environment of the company. So uh, we had tried to develop our solution to support the company to do a lot of analysis using AI, any other kinds of technologies that we are working on it.
Okay, okay. But how do you help companies mitigate the impact of data breaches and cyber attacks?
Yeah, it- when we identify an incident, what's the most important thing? We need to move fast, right? We need to contain the threats, to reinforce defense, support the communication with the customers and regulators. And what's the most important thing? When we identify that it's a vulnerability that is a vulnerability, or that is some threat that is exploiting some filters of the e-commerce. So we try to identify as soon as possible what's the root cause of the problem and how can we fix it before the
Mhm.
incident become large, right?
I get it now. And I often find that innovative solutions face the initial skepticism. And for example, when I talk to potential clients, what's the biggest misconception they typically have about what you do?
Yeah, normally they imagine the biggest challenge that we are facing. Normally the company imagine, oh, I use some big technology from a big company, for example, a specific framework from a big company. So they imagine that this kind of environment is secure.
Mm,
So this is the most big challenge that you face. So normally they imagine, oh, I am using the framework, the e-commerce framework from the company X, right?
yeah.
Any other company. So they imagine that, oh, my e-commerce is secure. We don't have any problem. So when we try to demonstrate to this client that is not so simple, right? The cyber criminals today they are using different ways to do some fraud, some specific attacks. So the hackers today, the cyber criminals, they are they have advanced knowledge. So they are always a step, a move
Mm,
forward from us. So what we need to do, we need to prevent all of this situation, right? We need to monitor the environment. We need to patch during all the time. We need to invest in proactive
Yeah.
controls, right? To avoid this situation. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, could you share a specific success story of a client who saw significant results using your solution?
Yeah, we have a lot of large companies that we are supporting. So one of the interesting story that the success case, right, that I remember right now, it's that specific this case that the team to tell the truth, the client was buying a product in their e-commerce, but when he paid this product, right?
Yeah.
There is option that you can choose if you want to pay with credit card or any other kind of payment. But when they decide to use the credit card, they show for the client that the price was different from the product.
Mm,
So the that's this is a very interesting story because they imagine that the client, when it happened, the client imagined that he will pay less for this product than he
yeah,
is the
exactly.
real price, right? But what's the problem? When he chooses to pay with the credit card, the script was injected in that filter, and the cyber criminal opened a fake iframe or fake page in that specific part of the that you input your credit card information. But when you insert your credit card information and click and pay, all of this information are being stolen by the cyber criminal.
Yeah, right.
So in the beginning of this case, the client imagined that it was just a bug from the e-commerce, but it was not a bug. It was a advanced attack that it has been done by a cyber criminal,
Interesting.
and many clients was impacted because of this.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Interesting one. And now, looking at the broader industry, what key trends are you seeing emerge?
Yeah, the when we see the other industries, we can see different challenges, right? For example, when we are working, for example, in the health tech market, or and we are working for the financial or the government, so they are facing different kinds of situation. But what is the most interesting? The most interesting that all of the company, if it depends of the sector that they are or the size of the company, they are facing the same problem.
Hmm.
What's this problem? They are facing some big change related to the team. So normally, for example, when you buy a solution, for example, from Microsoft, you imagine that's a secure solution. That's a solution that you can it's reliable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's not reliable, but normally the company they configure with different kinds of. Normally the company uses different kinds of configuration specific for their business, right? Normally, when they do this configuration, you can expose your environment. You can open some data for the internet. So
Hmm.
the companies they don't know specifically how to configure in a secure way the technology that they are working. So the big challenge that you are facing in any kind of sector that you are working is specifically for this situation. So the company are buying different kinds of technologies. They are buying solutions from large companies or small medium companies, and they are using all of these technologies. For example, when you use the chat GPT, right? When you use the AI, it's a tool, it's a solution
Yeah,
that it's a very important solution that supports us during all of our work, but you have risks related to use all of the solution, right? All of the data that you are inputting this solution can be stolen by a cyber criminal or can be,
right.
yeah, you have different risks in this implement or using all of the technology that the company are using.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And I have worked with numerous businesses in the space, and I've noticed some common pitfalls. So, what do you think? What mistakes do you see companies making when trying to tackle these challenges?
It's a it's a very normal situation, unfortunately, right? So normally the companies invest in cybersecurity after a cyber breach or
Yeah,
a cyber incident. So when this situation happens, it's a it's a very interesting thing because you can see a problem in two different ways, right? You can see a problem in a bad way that you imagine, oh, I had a cyber incident, I had a financial impact, so the image of my company it's not the same thing.
yeah,
The image of my company, the brand was impacted. But you can see in another way. You can see this situation like, oh, I need to invest in cybersecurity.
yeah, exactly.
The All the companies today they use technology. It's not something that you can, for example, if you have a company today, there is no way to don't not to use the technology, right? Imagine that you have a small company. You need to use technology for your work to be more resilient, to be more productive. So it's not just use the technology. You need to understand that all the technology that you are using, there are risks associated with this technology.
Yeah,
So the big challenge here, the company that need to understand, the small, medium, and large one, that they need to invest in cybersecurity. They need to understand what are the risks. For example, oh, I am using the chat GPT in my process of sales, for example.
so, but my next question was about, in your opinion, what advice would you give to e-commerce businesses looking to improve their security posture?
Yeah, it's I believe that's this advice is not just for the e-commerce company or a company that they have in e-commerce, but for all the companies, right? Because because the companies need to understand that security is not one-time product. For example, oh, I have bought a firewall, I have bought antivirus or something
Yeah,
like this, so I am secure right now. But it's not it's buy a product. It not means that you are securing. It's an ongoing process. So, for example, when you are working for the companies we believe that we need to do implement a monitor process, test process, audit process. So we need to monitor, test, audit to do everything because you are not. It's not secure. It's not a product, right?
yeah, right.
And so we need to. And one thing important thing that we believe that when you invest in prevention, it's always more cheaper than when you need to invest in when
Exactly.
you have a cyber incident. So when you have a cyber incident, you need to hire specialists at that moment. So it's very expensive. So it's very important to prevent, to invest in prevention instead of to invest after the cyber incident happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. And to reframe a little bit what you mentioned before this, so the problem has two ways. One, to see the problem in advance and to prevent it, like you mentioned before. And two, to see the problem when it's really happening and to see, okay, now what should I do? And then it's more expensive. So like you mentioned, so this is my thoughts about what you said earlier.
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
Alexander. Yeah.
And before we wrap up, I'm curious about what's on the horizon. So, when you look at Bit and Tech journeys over the next few years, what possibilities excite you the most?
Yeah, we are planning to expand our business to US. We are we don't have any investor, right? US. We are a bootstrapped company. So we don't have a third party investor. But so we are looking that we are a large opportunity for us in this e-commerce market, right? Not just in e-commerce market, but in the SaaS protection
Yeah,
too. If you see, Alexander, all the startups that they have at this moment, they have a SaaS solution, right?
yeah, exactly.
Most of them, right? And so most of the SaaS solution, for example, all of the SaaS solution that we have tested in the past, for example, in the health tech market, all of them we exploit. It was possible to exploit everything, so it was possible to study all the data, all the information. So what I'm trying to say, the
Yeah,
companies they are not worried about cybersecurity. They are not worried about how can I protect the data that I am collecting. And if you imagine, Alexander, most of the companies, the startups that are growing at this moment, they are collecting a lot of data, and they are
yeah,
not
right.
most of the case they are not worried. How can I protect this data? How can I invest in protection, right?
Yeah, right,
So
right.
yeah, we are believing that we have space or we are expanding our business to different markets, mainly in US and many others countries here in Europe, because we believe that we have a lot of opportunities, not just in commerce market, but in SaaS solution and
Yeah,
many others.
yeah, I know. And for listeners who want to learn more or potentially work with Bit and Stack, what's the best way to get in touch?
All right. Okay. So yeah, we have our website that's bitinsec.com. We have Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube channel. But the YouTube channel, it's most of the videos that we have just in Portuguese from Brazil.
Okay.
So, but we have different kinds of contacts. But we have our website that's bitinsec.com.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you for sharing those insights about you, about the company, and about the whole story. And thank you for this amazing podcast session.
All right. Thank you, Alexander, for the opportunity to talk with you today.
Yeah, right. So see you in the next episode.
All right. Thank you.